Walt Disney Studios' newest live-action film Dumbo hits theaters this weekend, March 29th, so here are 10 things you should know before seeing it. Fear not, this is going to be a completely spoiler-free video, but I have had the opportunity to see it already. It is beautiful. I think it is one of Disney's best retelling of an animated movie that they've done so far. It is so good. Definitely check it out. But without further ado, 10 things you should know before seeing Dumbo. First up, this is not a remake, it's more like an extended story. The original 1941 Dumbo has a runtime of just over an hour, so it's not surprising that there's going to be some story changes along the way to not only make it a longer film, but kind of have a more well-rounded story that makes sense for 2019. One of the biggest differences from a story aspect is in the original Dumbo, Dumbo learns how to fly within like the last 5 minutes of the film. The whole movie is kind of building up to this big crescendo of Dumbo taking flight, whereas in the live action version he actually learns how to fly pretty early on, and you get a sense of that already by watching all of the trailers because there's like no big reveal of Dumbo flying, right? In the trailers you see him soaring everywhere, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that that happens a lot earlier in the film, and really the story is about what happens afterward. Number 2, it will make you cry a lot. I cried during the original Dumbo. I watched it more recently and it's like so upsetting how mean all the other animals are to Dumbo. It's like so upsetting. And the new live action version is no exception, but I found myself crying for like a million different reasons. It's either because Dumbo is in peril, or it's Dumbo is being like mistreated just like he is in the animated version. Sometimes it was because Dumbo was physically so cute that I was just like, I could not handle it. I wanted to like squeeze his little cheeks so much. But more importantly, this movie has a lot of heart, and I think that's what made it so emotional. Actress Eva Green said, "I don't think you have to be an artist to feel like an outsider. I think everybody has felt at some point kind of a bit strange or different. It's just such a wonderful movie because it has that message of, no, it's okay to be strange or different. It's actually great. It makes you special. And we just have to embrace our uniqueness." I think she really hit the nail on the head as to why it can be so emotional, because we're seeing Dumbo like accept what is weird about him just like we should accept what's weird about us. Number 3, animals are not a huge part of the story. In the animated Dumbo, we see Dumbo getting teased by all the other mother elephants, which I can't even talk about how wrong and upsetting that is anyway. But beyond Mrs. Jumbo and Dumbo, we don't really have a lot of interactions with the other circus animals throughout the film. It's also worth noting that the animals we do encounter in live action Dumbo do not speak. Next up, there are a ton of delightful Easter eggs scattered throughout the movie. I'm not going to spoil anything, but definitely keep your eyes peeled for some little fun nuggets if you are a fan of the original Dumbo. If you haven't seen it recently, I highly recommend seeing it again before you see this new one, so all those things are fresh. Writer and producer Justin Springer said that they use these Easter eggs to kind of reconnect the live action Dumbo to the animated one, be that through like set pieces or visual imagery, even some music cues or costumes, to really kind of bridge the gap between the 1941 and 2019 versions. Number 5, and one of the things that I truly cannot believe, is that Danny Elfman had not seen Dumbo. Given that Tim Burton is a producer on this movie, it should come as no surprise that Danny Elfman was brought on to do the score. They've worked together for decades. They have a really great connection. They really kind of get into each other's minds and know exactly what each other wants. But I cannot believe that Danny Elfman had never seen Dumbo until he got the call to do this movie. Elfman said, "When I got the call from producer Derek Frey about doing it, I watched it. It's the first time I had ever seen it from beginning to end. What was crazy was pink elephants on parade. I know that really well. I don't know how I knew it, but I knew it. Casey Jr., of course, I know that. How did I know that? I didn't see it as a kid. There are all these elements that I was hoping we could bring up and wrap in, but the thing that excited me the most was that it's going to be some heartbreak in there. That's really where I get my jollies." It's such a weird little insight into Danny Elfman's brain. Like, both him and Tim Burton have like crazy, brilliant, very eccentric minds, but I can say that the score is beautiful and Danny Elfman nailed it. With a lot of heavy hitters in this movie like Eva Green, Danny DeVito, Michael Keaton, and Colin Farrell, you might be surprised to know that this is the debut of 2 of the other film stars. Finley Hobbins and Nico Parker played the brother and sister duo of the film, and they said they can't really remember much of the first day. Finley says it was like we were going in our costumes and we were just going in for like a costume check. And then we would have done, I think, one of the first scenes, and then Danny worked with us, and we just did that. And it was 5 seconds. And each second felt literally like an eternity of just going, hi, how are you? Hi, how are you? And then we met Colin, and then Eva, and then Michael, and then Tim, and it was just terrifying each time the first time. I can't even imagine what it would be to not only be a child actor and to have this be your first movie, but to live up to the expectations of so many amazing, talented actors. But you would never know that this was their first movie. They are so, so great. Of course, Dumbo takes place in a circus, and most of those actors that you see on screen are real circus performers. The filmmakers felt really strongly about having that authenticity, so they brought in circus performers from all over the world. Christian Christoph from Hungary was hired to not only share his knowledge of the circus, but as well as his international circus connection. The result was this like multicultural array of performers, like jugglers and clowns, knife throwers, even a dog trainer. But because there was so much of a language barrier on set, that they actually interacted with each other playing ping pong. Even though there were so many professional circus performers on set, Eva Green actually did a lot of her own stunts. Eva Green plays this beautiful trapeze artist named Colette, and she's actually part of Michael Keaton's circus. She said, I had the most amazing circus people who were very patient and very kind because I was absolutely petrified. I thought I would never be able to do that. For like 2 months every day I trained. You need a very strong core as well. I have very strong abs, very strong arms, and little by little I went higher and higher and higher, and that was amazing. And while she was doing it, she said a little trick that worked for her was to sing in French. Up next, a lot of the environments and the sets and pieces that you see in Dumbo were real. It is not uncommon these days to build complete CGI worlds. We see this a lot with all the Marvel films, for example. When you see BTS of that film, you'll see the actors in just big green screen rooms. So all of that is being built digital. But for this, Tim Burton really wanted to make it feel super authentic and super real, to not only look good on screen, but to also have the actors kind of feel that energy of a real circus. It's really stunning to watch unfold because you see them enter the Dreamland Circus in this really extravagant, huge circus tent that is so much grander than what we first see Dumbo in, and to know that that was a practical set is pretty amazing. And they even rebuilt Casey Jr., but it was so new that they actually had to go chip off the paint and make it look a little bit more rough, so it really fit in with the theme. And lastly, just because it is really weird, Dumbo on set was played by Tarzan. Obviously, the Dumbo that we see in the film is this beautifully rendered CGI version of Dumbo, but on set, they had this guy named Ed who would fill in for Dumbo in a full green suit to give people like the right eye lines and sight lines so he would crawl around on all fours. Tim Burton said he looked like a really weird insect in his full green suit, but he actually studied all the movements of elephants so they could get it just right. Ed portrayed Dumbo on set for about 5 months, and just like Dumbo, he was also teased. Nico and Finley found out that he had once been Tarzan and he could do an ape walk, so they constantly would bug him to do that. That is all. Like I said, Dumbo is really, really fantastic. I will be completely honest and say that I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. It was amazing. I actually really loved the tonal shift from what we have in the animated film. We have more human characters that you can kind of connect to, and they really resonate with Dumbo himself. So we're seeing Dumbo not only fit in, but we're seeing all of these human characters too, kind of mirroring that same struggle of acceptance and really becoming who they want to be. It's so, so good. Super family friendly. I will say there are some scenes that are a little bit intense for kids, so keep that in mind if you have a kid that's really, really sensitive of animals, maybe like being in danger. Maybe wait and watch it first and see if you think they can get through it. But it hits theaters this weekend, March 29th. Give this video a thumbs up. Please let me know down below if you plan on seeing an opening weekend, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.